Welcome to the Pulse Podcast. We're here in Studio Square. That's right, folks. We are here in the studio. Now, we're not live tonight. We are recording this episode because, well, we just don't have internet here yet. Spectrum's supposed to be here to hook up the internet sometime this week. So in the meantime, we want to get comfy. We want to get settled in. And so we're recording today's episode of the Pulse Podcast. First of all, let's introduce ourselves here, guys. Thanks for coming on with me today. We've got Greggy in the control room. Greg Kinn manning the controls and manning the computer today. Today, joining me, all of the Heart of Ohio Sports crew today. We have Tommy Hall, Joey Krajewski, and myself, Nate Mullins. So thanks for coming on with me, guys.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Well, let's dig in. We talk about sports here, guys. Honestly, we talk about local sports a lot. So it's Tuesday, May 24th.
So will that be today if you're hearing that?
Well, no, we'll be airing this later tonight. So
Look at Greggy.
yeah, Greggy's gonna be at work. But we do have two playoff games on Tuesday. It'll be Hopewell Loudon and Calvert at 2:00, and then it will be Old Port and St. Paul at 4:30. And then on Thursday, Tiffin Columbian comes to you live from Bluffton Field as they take on Ontario. We'll be bringing you that broadcast right here on Heart of Ohio Sports. Yes.
Of the season,
rubber
and
match.
Hopewell has it 2-0 this
Well, it's
season.
not a rubber match
So
I think
we'll see what happens tomorrow.
I think what's interesting about being able to cover this area for the last decade is we've seen sprouting these farm-to-table teams that have really, started making it as perennials in the playoffs, making deeper runs to where we're getting some of these local flavors. That's why we kind of got together.
That's right.
Started circling these matchups year round because we're like, okay, well this Cary squad football wise from last year,
Right.
We put out the feelers early on before the season, knowing that, just from what we've seen with that squad, having them out on previous shows, just knowing what that squad was going to be able to accomplish that year. So again, we keep our fingers on the pulse, no pun intended, with the local area. So we're going to bring you the best matchups, best that you can find in the area, and that means traveling to Bluffton. Nate, I can't wait to tune in. As this baseball season, again, this is our first venture into covering local baseball, and man, Nate, you guys, we have all just, it's been a great experience, and getting to watch it from the outside too on some of the broadcasts that I can't be at. I mean, man, what a tremendous job.
Yeah, it's been awesome. It's been a fun ride this year for sure.
It has been.
So once again, I mean, you guys are newcomers to this. What's your experience this year? How are you guys feeling about this? Joey, we'll start with you. Like, you hadn't really had a whole lot of chance to really get acclimated. I mean, we just pretty much threw you right to the fire. They're like, hey, you want to call a baseball game?
Exactly.
Come on, let's call a baseball game.
Threw me right to the wolves, especially. I mean, I'm more of a football guy, but I played baseball all my life, so it's not like I'm a dummy or anything. But it's kind of like one of those things where you just got to get thrown to the wolves and figure it out. And I thought the last been 4 games now.
Yeah,
we've done them in a row. Obviously it's gotten a lot smoother from the first game, and then now that we're getting deeper in the playoffs, where games are a little bit more competitive than the first games we saw, that it's just gonna start ramping it up and getting hot.
Yeah, this week is going to be a lot of action. Let me tell you.
Yes, it will.
Connor, I want to get your impression so far. I mean, you've been mainly running the cameras, but you did a little bit of sideline, or I guess not really sideline, but baseline duty.
Yeah, I'm kind of the opposite of Joe. I'm a baseball guy in and out, so doing the baseball games has just been incredible for me. I've been enjoying it for the few games that I've done, and I mean, I'm really looking forward to what's coming in the future. And I mean, I'm into all the sports. I mean, I can't wait for next football season. That's going to be exciting. But, I mean, we got to make a wrap on this baseball season first.
I know. Well, I mean, you played baseball, right?
I did.
Did you play football?
I did not. I played football up to 7th grade.
Okay.
And then transitioned over to cross. But the one I stuck through my whole life has been baseball.
That's awesome.
Yep.
So a couple of baseball players here with us. I mean, I played Little League, but I didn't play much in high school. But, I mean, baseball's kind of in my blood. I grew up watching the Indians, now the Guardians, whatever you want to call them. That was my team growing up, and I watched a lot of heartbreak with that team, and recently as well. I mean, they've broken my heart my entire life, it feels like.
16 was the worst.
Oh, man, I don't know. 95 hurt really bad, let me tell you. Even though it was a 6-game series, that one hurt so bad because it felt like we should have won it that year. We the best team in baseball.
That's what's interesting.
Just didn't have pitching.
Coming full circle with this, Nate, you and I sitting across from each other. where it started with a podcast about Cleveland sports, all the many years ago when I was working in print and you were just, cutting your teeth in the radio. And then before we knew it, like Joey here getting baptized by fire, you were like, hey, you want to come in and get your feet wet in radio? And I was like, bro, I write, I don't. But, over the years, it's just been a continuous growth. And like I said, it's weird to think how much my fandom of the sport of baseball has changed just from when we were covering those World Series runs, Indians, where my dream matchup as a kid was always Cubbies, Indians. And then when I got that to actually happen and the results played out, I can't stand the Cubs anymore. I just because I also followed them on Facebook and stuff years ago, so it's like now I see that stuff turn up in my
the yearly anniversary things of it. Just make you cringe.
Now, at the time, though, we were coming off of a Cavs championship. Now, we were still riding really high. I mean, Tommy, you, Greg, and I, we all went to the parade. We were there. We smelled all the smells. We were there for all the sights. We got to experience that in all of its glory. So I feel like even though that did hurt in 16, it didn't hurt as bad because we were still like, it's all right. Cavs got that title. We're good. We're still riding high from that Cavs title. Right. It's all good. Yeah, we blew a 3-1 lead, but hey, we also came back from 3-1. So you know what? Whatever. It doesn't matter. Now, looking back, the Cavs title has aged like fine wine, and now this is like, it just hurts more and more and more as the time goes on.
And that's what I said, just leaving politics out of the Guardians in itself, it's been embarrassing to just be known as the major farm team.
Yeah.
Yep. And then you see guys like Ramirez and guys sign for less money and be like, I want to be here. It's like, yeah, but I just wish the team really wanted you.
Right.
Yes.
You know what I mean? That's what I said. Until we see a big old shift with the management or ownership of that squad, I keep my ear to the ground with them. I always support, but it's kind of rough to talk about, especially when I do tune in this season. You see them get swept by a team that started off 3-22 on the season.
Well, I mean, you consider the fact that the Browns' new quarterback.
That's my Reds.
The Browns' new quarterback right now is making more than I'd say 95% of the Guardians roster. So everyone other than Jose Ramirez, if you take everyone else and combine them, Deshaun Watson makes more than them by like $10 million. It's ridiculous.
Ridiculous.
How are you supposed to field a competitive team like that?
Right?
You can't. It's just.
And you see like the Dodgers who have like 9 All-Stars on their team. It's like I just saw
then
today,
the Yankees.
I just saw today the Dodgers were home underdogs for the first time since 2018.
It's crazy. And what's crazy about seeing these big teams too is like what their salary cap is between.
It's unreal.
Between like
there's no salary cap in baseball. It's
it's crazy because like they're showing like, and I mean it's showing the Reds were under $1 million. They're like 800 something thousand, and then I think the Dodgers were above like 10 million or something. It's like the difference between those, and looking at Cincinnati being the very first professional team, and it's just kind of mind blowing.
That is kind of mind blowing because you consider, I feel like just 2 years ago the Reds were spending a lot of money, and now all of a sudden it's a fire sale. They're just getting rid of everybody.
Well, and I think
what
I got to go off.
I got to
go off of Tommy too on ownership.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's a time of change in Cincy where get a new owner in there who wants
sell the team.
Yep.
Yes, sell the team.
Well, I've been saying the same thing about the Dolans.
And what Castellanos said was he would have stayed. I mean, the fan base in Cincy is like no other. Yeah. But it all comes down to the ownership and how much they want them there. And for them showing, not caring. I mean, they traded 2 or 3 starting pitchers, traded 2 all-star outfielders, Winker and Castellanos, which were huge for the Reds defensively and offensively. Third baseman, Eugenio Suarez, who hit 48 home runs just the other year. I mean, a lot of big batting power. I mean, just lost on the Reds, and then you still have Joey there, who started with the Reds, and he's had his whole career, and he's kind of really the only.
I feel like he's kind of
bare backbone guy that's there.
Like feels like
up and down.
One year he has like a great year, and then the next year it's kind of a down year, and it's been. kind of that way for the last few years for him, but he's one of those guys that the fans look to as that's your guy. That's
Yeah.
the face of the franchise.
And
you
that's
know?
been my dude ever since. Like
Right.
Joey's my dude,
That's how all Guardians fans feel about Jose right now. That's my
right?
guy. That's,
and then
that's
look
our
at
dude.
look at Miguel in Detroit as
Yep.
well. As
Miggy.
he's their
great,
guy.
Great example for sure. But baseball for us locally, I mean, it's been a lot of fun. Nationally, yeah.
Nah.
Right? One thing going real quick on the high school side is it's unbelievable, especially like the records of these teams. Like look at Columbian and then Hopewell, and then their strength and their batting order, like 1 through 9.
Oh, yeah.
Is
Both of those
unbelievable. And then you go to the bench and they even come in clutch as well, making their appearance
Yeah.
and helping the team out when they need to.
They've got a lot of talent on both teams. I feel like Columbian's one of those teams coming into the season where they had a lot of expectations, and when you come in with that much expectation, a lot of times it's hard to live up to that.
Yep.
They've done a great job of managing
Yeah.
that this year.
And that was one thing I felt, shouldn't say missing out of the local area was the hits, but you got some filthy dogs on the mound in the local area.
Oh, yeah,
that have
for
really
sure.
carried a lot of these squads to deep runs into the playoffs, and how that, like I believe that Ben Hovis for Lakota, I think they had a 2-run lead on Hopewell Loudon just earlier.
Yeah.
In that game, I haven't got to see what the update was, but that kid's just a dog on the mound. When
Yeah.
we got to call him, and like that type of pitching, again, when you're able to get those hits, you need to just get a guy on and field it from there. That's really where you see the difference between squads. And Columbian, they have big bats, and they got aces on the mound. It's just sometimes, like we've seen, the infield, the errors,
The
have
errors,
just been so
fundamental
costly.
baseball. Yeah. That's really what it comes down to in a
Yeah,
lot of
it
these
does.
squads.
Yeah.
And honestly, Old Fort's the same way. They have, a very talented squad. They played a lot of close games, but fundamentally on the infield, sometimes they get a little sloppy. Some
Yep.
other guys just aren't as fundamentally sound as some of the other teams. But they 1 through 9, they've got a pretty good lineup, and they've got some studs on the mound. Miles Miller, Isaac Snyder, both those kids, they can hurl it. So
I agree.
There's a couple of teams in the area, like you said, Tommy. There's a lot of gas out there. You talk about the talent in this area when it comes to arms. I mean, each one of these teams has an ace.
Oh,
it feels
yeah.
like, and a lot of them have 2, and a 1A and a 1B, so.
And what's crazy as well is the competition in the league as well. Like the SBC River for Hopewell. I mean, there's like
SBC.
there's 3 or 4 teams that's fighting for first place.
Yeah.
And right now, I think Lakota's on top, and Gibsonburg and Hopewell are fighting for that second, and even wherever they are now, potentially for that first place spot.
Right.
And I think Hopewell's playing Lakota tonight. So that can be a tiebreaker or something there as well to decide the top of
That's what this
the
is.
conference.
Yeah, that game tonight is actually to decide the winner of the SBC River. So
It's nuts.
big time. I mean, there's a lot of. It's crazy that there's still baseball to be decided right now.
Right?
Yeah, like that makes
crazy.
kids like graduate or something.
Yeah.
They're already
did.
done, but yeah.
Yeah.
That's why we have a baseball game at 2:00 tomorrow.
Yeah.
Because some of these kids are already done, and the other ones, well, you can get out of school early. It's all right. You're right.
And then what's crazy too is I know we don't cover much or whatever, but softball as well.
Oh,
like
there's
look at
so many
Hopewell.
good
They just
teams.
made their
Spats.
first district championship going into the regionals on Wednesday. And then also to go off the track and field as well.
Yeah.
Just all the talent in the area as well.
There's a lot of
in
talent
there.
in this
It's
area.
unbelievable how much high school talent there is, like especially in Seneca County.
And it's been a blast to cover it, honestly. This year's been fun.
And that was one of the reasons, like we talked about, when we started to get our feelers out and test out the equipment and try out baseball. We knew, you got this Columbian squad who's a regional, coming back from a regional run last year, sectional champion. It's Calvert, Old Fort. Something was going to give this year, so we might as well, like I said,
Right.
we kind of test this stuff out. I'm confident about going into the high school football season.
Yeah.
That it'll be
It's going to be a lot of fun. I know that.
Like I
but
said, I'm really
yeah.
excited for that.
football is going to be a whole different beast.
It'll be nice to pay attention to the game and not have to keep the scoreboard on my phone.
But anyways, I mean, so we talked a lot about local sports. Let's get into some national sports topics, shall we? I mean, I feel like we've done a good job of covering local sports in this area.
Hey guys, I got a score here from that Hopewell Lakota game.
Okay, never mind.
tonight.
More Lakota, more local sports. Let's go ahead.
I was just looking on Twitter here. Josh Morgan's tweet from an hour ago says, "High school baseball, Lakota 11, Hopewell 4 final.
Wow.
Raiders clinch at least a share of the Sandusky Bay River Division Championship."
Wow.
First thing that comes in mind is pitching.
That
like,
Ben
are you
Hovis
saving?
is-
Are you like Lakota's had insane pitching, and then there's Hopewell. Like I know you want to go into the game, but you also got that tournament game tomorrow.
That's exactly right. And they might have, the other night they started Ashton Bohr and then they brought in relief pitchers after that to kind of like bolster the, when we covered them the other night, I can't remember who they played, but they did the same thing. They started with Bohr and they kind of just didn't want to, they have Swanigan, they have McDonald. They didn't want to waste their starter in that game
Yeah.
because
Yes.
they knew they had a playoff game coming up. Might be the instance tonight, but who knows? Honestly, I don't want to, assume anything because I wasn't there.
Which obviously you want to go out there and try to win every game and
Yeah.
get that league title. But I can also see at the same time as, hey, look what we're leading into.
Right.
Maybe let's just save a little bit and see what we can do, especially with our other guys.
It's like what matters more? What's the bigger game?
Yes.
Exactly. Yep. Yeah. Thanks for that, Greg. Appreciate
Yeah,
that.
thank you.
So once again, final score: Lakota 11, Hopewell 4. Raiders clinch at least a share of the SBC River Division. So
That just shows
Hopewell
how tough teams
What
are.
a nightmare.
started out 18-1, right, and then kind of had a little bit of a rough ending to the season.
Yeah,
here.
yeah, a little rough when you were swinging by playing them teams for a second time that know you and
Yep.
they learned from the first game and some of it showed.
Absolutely.
And who knows? I mean, who knows how much got in their head? Like, yo, we're second in state and look at our record. Or if they were writing off of that, or because with something like that, especially, yeah, you want to make history like that, but you got to go game by game on, hey, we got to go 1-0 each day.
What you got, Greg?
It's looking like Joey's microphone's gonna die.
Uh-oh.
Oh no.
We got a dead mic over here.
It's amazing that just the transition, and I couldn't imagine being an athlete today at the high school level, just to the topsy-turvy world that they've had to adjust to schedule-wise, just from 2020 up to 2022. Like, I don't envy this class of 22
No, not at
that's
all.
had to go through these meat grinder schedules he's thrown together. Like, I'm hoping over this 2022 summer we can finally get some sense of normalcy when these kids come into season, because again, I couldn't imagine making the adjustment from going class to not having class to having sports to having shortened school year to where you're doubling on top of each other with the schedule and the games. Like, you need that proper time to adjust. You need that proper time to practice. You need that proper time to scout. And when you, like I said, I don't envy the athletic directors nor the athletes.
No.
When you're graduating high school and then you still
Yeah.
got to keep your focus on the high school athletics aspect of it, where, hey, we got to go out there and play a varsity game or a makeup game from back in April.
Right.
That doesn't mean anything.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But
exactly.
we still got to stay focused, stay healthy for a playoff game, what have you. So I mean, my hat's off to these guys being able to battle it out. But from here on out, like I said, I hope over the summer when we finally get into the football season, fall season, maybe we get a little bit of sense of normalcy to where it also allows you some breathing room when you try to,
Right.
Right?
I mean,
they just expect life. You expect to, be able to adjust on a dime as far as everyone's schedule, but
that's
somehow we make do.
we had to make do this week. I mean, this week was hard to do. I didn't know if we were going to be able to do Wednesday's games. Since they moved them to Tuesday, it makes it a little bit more doable.
Yeah.
So now we're going to be able to cover both games on Tuesday and then the game on Thursday as well. But I mean, like you said, those guys don't take anybody's schedule into effect but their own. Like they just think about what's best for that game, those teams at that time. And I don't blame them for making the move if they felt it was necessary, you know. But anyways, I mean, we've kind of drug out that local sports about as long as I think we probably can.
Yeah.
We talked
Yep.
about it quite a bit. Now let's talk about national sports. Let's move on. I want to talk about the Browns because I feel like I've had a lot of shows over the years and a lot of different avenues to talk about sports, but every time I have a show or an avenue to talk about sports, Browns talk always gets cut down to like, hey, you only got 15 minutes to talk about the Browns, so let's try to fit it into this little segment. And this is not what this is about.
No.
This podcast, I want to be able to freely talk about whatever we want to talk about. If we want to talk about the Browns for the next 45 minutes,
So
screw
be it.
Let's do it.
Right.
So maybe not the Browns completely, but let's start on them right now. Right now, the big news over the weekend was Jadeveon Clowney getting re-signed.
Huge
1
to be
year,
re-signed.
$11 million deal. I think that's a big deal. For the Browns, they need that guy. It's going to be big because he's going to be able to help develop some of those younger guys. Those younger guys are going to be fresh coming in rotation. They're going to help keep him and Miles fresh.
Yes.
And then also it could lead to possibly another signing. I'm hearing Ndamukong Suh is another signing
Yep.
that they're
In the
working
works, I
on. They're
heard.
trying to get him into the fold, and I think that would be just absolutely huge.
And look into year 2 with Miles and,
Yeah.
and him where,
I mean, both of
I
them
mean,
ended
look
with
how
double-digit
dangerous that
sacks.
it could
Yep.
be.
Yeah, you're talking about two of the highest win percentage off the edge rushers in the NFL.
Yeah.
In Jadeveon Clowney and Myles Garrett. You know, I like that tandem because again, it gives relief on the other side, on the weak side, on the strong side,
Right.
For either or, to where it just want it all to click finally together.
Yes.
Presence up the field, I want a presence up front to where I don't have to worry about some guy running across the playground naked and
Yeah.
not being able to make practice that week.
Right.
Exactly.
So yes, I've always been a fan of guys with a little bit of attitude. So if Sue wants to come over and play and
Bring it.
stomp on people in other color jerseys,
As long as it's
Especially
the
if they're
other
in
color.
black and yellow.
they already sold our souls to the devil. Let's go ahead.
Let's go ahead and talk about that for just a second. Selling our souls to the devil here. So this HBO thing, you hear about this?
No.
Brian Gumbel's supposed to be having a sit down with these Deshaun Watson,
Accusers?
the accusers.
It's
Supposed to be a sit down. I don't know if it's HBO or there's supposed to be some kind of a media publication that's doing a sit down interview with some of these women that have been accused or have accused him.
Yes.
And so the rumor is that these women are going to come out with something new or some kind of bombshell or some kind of whatever.
It's crazy.
But I think what's going to end up happening is probably these women are just going to try to play it up, and it's going to make Deshaun look even worse. And
Look,
here's the thing. The NFL recently has shown you that as long as there's no video, they're cool. They try to brush it under the rug. They don't want to talk about it too much. They'll try to help you out as much as they can. But if there's video evidence,
Uh-oh.
look at Kareem Hunt. Look
Yeah.
at Ray
Yeah.
Rice. Look at these situations. I know these are completely different situations because you're talking about physical abuse.
yeah, but when you
But you're talking about sexual abuse in this situation. This is
here's the thing is
these women, if they come out and they take the stand in this HBO interview and they start crying, they start, dramatizing the situation.
It's not even the NFL umbrella that is going to be the ones that have to make that swift move. The move has already happened. You look at the MLB with the Trevor Bauer situation.
Yeah.
2
You
years.
think-
2 years suspension.
Wow.
2 year suspension. You think
For being a freak.
this thing?
Yeah, pretty much.
I'm just, we're just being honest.
yeah,
We're be honest here for
pretty
just a
much,
second.
yes.
He was just a freak.
Yep.
Like the chick, it was consensual. He just got a little carried away. She came back for more. Like I'm just to me, I'm like, he got 2 years for being a freak. Oh damn. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, this is gonna be.
That's why I'm
It made me
glad-
nervous about the Deshaun Watson thing. And I'm
I'm
like,
glad I'm past my prime. I can't get. I'm cancelable now.
it makes you glad there wasn't a Tinder when you were growing up.
Yeah, it's just, I mean, regardless, your behavior is also a representation of yourself. No
Absolutely.
matter how you carry yourself as a man, whether or not things are true, whether you don't know unless you walk the proverbial mile. At the same time, it's one of those things where you don't take sides. You just
Right.
kind of how it should be. You should just you just move along, mind
Right.
your own business, treat others the way you want to be treated. It's really not that hard. But like we talked about, when we're talking influence on society, we're talking about holding a corporate, integrity, if there's any left in the MLB or NFL or what have you. They're feeding off of each other, and the more attention, the more that I shouldn't say certain type of cultures, cancel cultures, what have you. The more that things are being out there to where we don't stand for it socially, you got to cut bait. I mean, look at these.
Yeah.
You look everywhere. I mean,
Yeah.
even in the news with these defamation lawsuits. That's the most popular thing on television is somebody saying something about somebody else.
Yep.
And then being in court trying to prove that. That's where we've gotten as far as a society to where, you face actions for your consequence. And then you find out there's 2 sides to every story. And then you find out there's 3 sides to every story. His side, her side, and somewhere in there's the truth. And now you get to watch it play out in front of you. And it's like, we all made our own beds with this.
Yeah.
And we get to watch it unravel. And now you talk about the focus being taken. I used to wake up to watch SportsCenter. I'd go walk down, get my hair cut, watch some of whatever was on the television, sports related. And you just talk about that. You talk about what was going on in sports. Now it's, again, what controversy is following this athlete to where it's even bullying the conversation
Yep.
with us. You know
That's
what I
the
mean?
TMZ takeover, though. That's,
It is.
Honestly, when ESPN went and fired all those good reporters back, it was probably 6, 7, 8 years ago now. It's been a while. But when they fired a lot of those senior reporters, those guys that built the reputation of ESPN at the time, because those guys were real reporters. They were out there doing real work. They're out there like foot on the pavement, beat writers for each team. Now you have actors pretty much covering these sports. It's essentially what you have now. You have these characters. And if you're not a character, well, you don't have a place on ESPN anymore. And it's the sad world we live in. They kept Chris Berman around because he had a whoop, all the whatever he's got,
Yeah.
He's a character. They kept Stephen A because he talked like this. He's a character, and all these guys that they kept, it's just, I don't know. That's the TMZ world that we live in because they sensationalize everything on that channel so much. It's like they take everything and they take it to the next level because, well, they have a 24-hour news cycle they got to fill. I understand part of it, but at the same time, it's like, man, just the dramatization of everything is just like,
Well,
come on.
Drama
Well,
over the truth,
And like Tommy said, there's multiple sides to every story. So if you
Yes.
want to catch the sides to this story, it's actually airing tomorrow night at 10 p.m. on
There you
HBO.
go.
The
HBO,
episode.
tomorrow night, 10 o'clock on HBO. So I was right. HBO,
That might
Brian
get-
Gumbel, right?
That might get in the
Yeah.
18th. That might get in the way of my 18th viewing of the Batman.
Yeah, you boot up HBO and you're going to be like, hey, the Batman.
I'll watch that
There's a lot
after
of
this.
good content going on. I've watched that started watching that Lakers show. I can't remember what it's called now. It's got it's a Judd Apatow and John C.
Isn't it the
Riley.
Lake Show or something? Or
No, it's about the Lakers.
yeah, I know what you're talking about. John C. Riley. It's got a bunch of other guys in it.
But that show is amazingly
called
shot.
Winning
I've-
Showtime.
Yeah, I've
Showtime.
got to watch an episode of it so far, and I actually watched on social media. There was a behind the
Winning time.
Yeah, that's
There it
Winning
is,
time,
winning
yes.
time.
Yes,
there
winning
was
time.
there was like a behind the scenes clip of them shooting the game in action. And you got these guys on rollerblades with these steady gyro balanced cameras. It's just I don't know. I thought that was really. Greggy, you better get your blades on. Football season.
Talking about that, like when they had the last ride come out for the Chicago Bulls.
Yeah.
Oh man,
The Last Dance.
the last dance.
Last ride was
my
the
bad.
Undertaker.
I was gonna say you're thinking about the Undertaker.
The
but
last,
That's a
yep,
good one too.
that was
the
captivating.
last dance.
Honestly, Ben Gillick brought up a really cool thing. Wouldn't it be cool if we sat here, like when we get the cable running, we get everything hooked up here, we just did like a react to The Last Dance. We just watch it and react as we're watching something. I mean, that's such a cool series,
right?
and I literally have only watched it one time through, and that was during when it was released.
Reason to
Tommy will
watch
just
it
try to put
again. You
Batman
can
on.
even, plug it as a watch along, where you pull up your, whatever social media or whatever streaming service that's on now, and watch it along and do a live react, whatever you want.
I thought that'd be pretty cool, but I thought that series was one of those, it was kind of a dramatization, but at the same time, it gave you a different perspective that you didn't see at any other time during
What was
Jordan's
going on
career.
inside of world championship culture?
Yeah, for sure. And how to foster and create that, and what it took for those athletes to get to that level.
Right.
So many sacrifices along the way, and so many different pieces that needed to be involved in order to make it work. I mean,
I love
That's true.
I watched this doc. It was like a little short clip earlier talking about Jordan when he came up and he played the Cavs, and how, the first two series with the Cavs, it was really competitive. And then he had that shot on Elo at the end of that second series. From that point on, he became Jordan. He didn't win a title that year, but the next year, it was just like they swept the Cavs,
Yeah.
and then they I think the next year it was like a 4-1 conference, or the Eastern semis. And then the year after that, they just swept the Cavs as well. So they played them 5 straight years. The Cavs didn't win any of those series. It's just unreal to think about how dominant they were at that time. But before they became that dominant, Jordan, he made out of the first round.
No,
He
I
had
mean,
been
they took-
swept 3 times and only won 1 playoff game before he beat the Cavs in that series.
Took Jordan to
grab
pretty
Robin
much.
to make it past Detroit.
That's right.
I mean, took Jordan to really nobody on the Bulls to build around him, and look what they did
I mean,
on
that's-
their success story.
They're a tremendous story when you think about what they were able to accomplish in that short amount of time. I mean, that's an 8-year window, and they have 6 championships to show for it. The only other team during that window to win is Hakeem Olajuwon's.
And to do it
Houston
two times, 3 in a row.
Yeah.
Again, and just being able to witness that as a kid, look at what that influence has done to the game itself,
Man.
to where it's at,
Well, I mean,
It
you
was
look at some of these guys that are young, talented kids now. I mean, they grew up watching Kobe, but who did Kobe watch? Michael.
Yep.
And that's Kobe tried to be like Mike, and these kids are growing up trying to be
Did you
like
notice-
Kobe, and it's the natural progression.
You remember that basketball game we covered where we pulled out that statistic of shots made from inside the field from the year 2010 to 2015 compared to shots made outside the field in three-point land from 2013 to 2019 or something like that. In the Curry era and all that. You see just the impact
yeah.
that these players have on the game as far as taking those 5,000 shots from the parking lot.
Right. And I mean, before that era, you had the Shaq and Kobe era, which, I mean, hardly anybody shot threes back then. It was all about getting the ball into the paint for your big guy, trying to force the issue,
Yep.
be dominant down low, create opportunities off the ball for your scorers, and it was a lot of backdoor cuts, a lot of moving parts, This new generation is a lot of ISO ball and
Very
a lot
much so.
of just creating your own shot. The Warriors are an exception to the rule. You watch that team, that is poetry in motion. I swear, I
it's
hate
just-
admitting that. Damn, they are fun to watch.
What will be the
And I hate it because it's not my brand of basketball, but they play so well. It's so smooth. It's just like a well-oiled machine watching them perform.
Is it, and you talk about, the big man era and some of these superstars that really were in the public consciousness. You see them move around in their later years where you start thinking to yourself, guys like LeBron who are still in their prime, by all respect, when you look at numbers of age of how these guys, evolve through the years. What's the age out going to be on some of these athletes in today's, what's Steph Curry? What's he going to be like
Right.
at age 43 compared to some of these guys you see lumbering around. At that
Oh,
age.
look at Steph and Irving. I mean, I feel like that's kind of a big difference.
Greggy's coming in to do the handoff with Joey, giving him a mic because this one's dead. I was just going to take a break. I was going to be like, oh, let's take a break and get his mic switched out here and get him one that actually works. But Greggy coming to the rescue here. As it's a little easier for him to grab a mic out of there and just hook it up over there. And, I mean, he's got a mic in there if he needs one. There's an extra one back in that studio room, and there's an extra mic cable back there. He'll figure it out. While he's doing that, though, I mean,
Look at this. This just popped up. It must be Big Brother keeping an eye. Bill won a ring in year 13. Wilt won a ring in year 13. Kareem won a ring in year 13. MJ won a ring in year 13. KG won a ring in year 13. Kobe won a ring in year 13. Dirk won a ring in year 13. LeBron won a ring in year 13. Steph is in year 3. Interesting.
I did place a futures bet on them yesterday to win the NBA championship.
Did you see the guy that made the bet on Jimmy Butler to take his mouth guard out at like 2 minutes and 18 seconds in the third quarter?
Stop.
Won 10K.
Yeah.
how is that?
They called a timeout too, and that's the time. And he's like, "Wait a minute, they called a timeout." And then they like cut over to a quick cam, and Butler's like, "He's like, oh yeah."
That's just unreal. That's so crazy to think. Like I'm really looking forward to the day when you can sit at your seat during a game and bet on anything.
Oh my god.
Anything. The day is coming when you can sit in your seat at a football game and bet whether the field goal is going to hit the upright or not.
Well,
You know what I mean? Or bet whether the receiver is going to fall down on this route.
Yeah.
Or, you know, like
It's
whatever.
unbelievable.
Just,
Sooner or
just
later.
crazy stuff that you can bet on.
And even the complexion of like some of the shows that we can do.
Yeah.
Like when I was out in Vegas a few years ago for that Harley event, they had a sports talk show out there in Vegas. Where does this talk about sports gambling, you know?
Yeah.
And they had the same kind of format, local area, and you know that was when the Gladiators were. Gladiators are a hockey team, right? In
The
Las
Knights.
Vegas.
They're the
Yeah.
Vegas Knights.
When that team first came out, you know, that was what they were taking bets on, talking about, explaining. I don't see us being too far off from that
Right.
win.
Yeah.
You know,
All we need is
Well, I mean,
sports gambling in Ohio.
That's
Let's
what
just
we
get
need.
that first.
And they need to get with it with that because it's like how much longer are we gonna have to wait for this?
Right. How much longer do I have to have VPNs to do everything I want?
Speaking of VPNs, we have our IT guys coming in to install a nice secure firewall for us.
Good.
That way our computers can talk to each other and everything's gonna be
Nice.
legit. And we're gonna have a nice
Nice.
little VPN here. And
Good. That'd be cool if we can place us in like Michigan or Pennsylvania.
we'll see
One
what
thing,
we can do.
one thing I thought was interesting is it's kind of it's on the money talk, like how college players are now getting NIL.
Yeah.
Is where they try to get that onto high school players. in
Well, and then
Ohio.
OHSAA shut it down. I mean,
Yeah.
it was basically a 2/3 vote that was like, nah.
And I agree with that because
completely.
high school kids have more things to worry about than, hey, we're getting paid to play. You got to
got
get.
kids sitting out their senior seasons.
There is.
That's the problem.
NILs and stuff for their junior year for a commit they're gonna make to. Here's the thing: is
I don't have any problem with a kid making money off of his likeness, but when you start talking about how it can influence decisions on where he goes to school, then that's where you need to draw the line.
unfortunately your bump card is your bump card. You're not gonna get to preserve your body in the sense that you gotta go through each level to adjust to the speed. If you don't go into your senior campaign through high school, you're not gonna know how you're gonna play in your senior body, in your developed body. Same thing with anybody that's ever played a college sport. When I went and played college football, what a culture shock, what a slap in the face to
Yeah.
where you rethink your career choice because again, you're talking, you know, at high school level, you're taking away a minute of play. In college, you're playing 15-minute quarters. You're adding another quarter of time onto how much you got to be out there as an athlete.
Yeah.
So if you're out there, you know, slagging off your senior season, and then you get thrusted at the college level, and you haven't played since a junior, good luck to you, pal.
Right.
Right.
Good luck.
Right.
We're playing against grown men now too, not high school kids.
That's what I said. It's like,
Exactly.
you play the Mount Unions, and you
Yeah.
see these guys who, you know, for whatever reason, went from being a D1 commit to winning a national title at Division III.
Yeah.
Hit against those guys.
Yeah.
And that will
Right.
give you a feel for it.
Give you a quick reality check,
Yeah,
real
so
quick.
Yeah, so that's again, it's one of those. If people want to pay these guys money, go, grab the bag, as they say, grab that
Yeah.
bag. But the sad reality is, like I said, when you see that get on the field, it's not going to be the result that they're going to want, and that's both because again, there's truth to playing for the love of the game and earning an opportunity to play at the college level, but then you see what a racket at the college level of the NCAA really is.
Yeah.
And they can keep you up at night, and at the same time you're like, maybe they should be able to make money off their likeness because you're filling 100,000 people and off of $200 a ticket for my
Which you get it, which you can understand. We've seen it coming into college atmosphere.
Yeah.
But trying to whittle it down to high school.
I think high school is just such a weird environment for kids to be basically. I mean, you're talking about you're recruiting them with money.
Nobody wants to drink a Sprite just because some dorky teenager is slugging one down.
I mean, how is this influencing anything? These kids aren't influencing the decisions of anyone with their advertising or their promotions.
Just to get them, just the boosters,
It's-
giving them money. To
that's
go to
exactly
those
what it
schools
is.
So the
Yep.
football team does better.
That's exactly what it is. Because, I mean, what kid is going to say, oh, hey, so-and-so from Hopewell's drinking Powerade, so now I'm going to be drinking
Yeah.
Powerade because I seen
kid-
him in some commercial drinking Powerade. Nobody gives a...
Wait,
Or the kid from
Who's drinking Powerade?
Or the kid from Hopewell's parent owns Powerade. And then that kid wants his buddy to play it. Hopewell. Here's Powerade money. Here's Powerade,
Yep.
Look at that and like high school recruiting. You see what
Sorry, Powerade.
High
see
school
what-
recruiting, marrying local what? I mean,
Whoa, buddy.
see what Saban was saying the other day on A&M?
Hey, he's not wrong though.
he's not wrong.
No, he's
What's the
But
highest
neither is
paid-
Jimbo either.
What's the
Jimbo
highest-
came back and was like, hey, you go ahead and look in what he's doing and look in his closets and you tell me what you come back and find. Jimbo's like, I've been in those closets. I know what's in those closets.
Right.
Trust me, go looking.
What did the two highest paid state employees have to say? Jimbo Fisher and
Yeah,
Nick Saban.
it's crazy.
Hey, man, they love their football in Alabama.
Can't blame. I mean,
They got no
football
pro
and the-
sports. That's all they
football-
got. They got Alabama
There's
football.
that.
What did he
Yep.
say?
And the
That's it.
relatives.
What did he say?
Well, basically, Nick Saban came out and said that, A&M bought all their players.
Yeah.
That's essentially what he said. Well, that's exactly
that's
what he
exactly what he said. Is
said.
they
He said
bought
they
their
bought
players.
every single one of their players. That's why they had the number one class in the country.
And then
Yeah.
12 hours ago, he apologized for saying that.
well, I mean, think about it.
oh, don't.
Well,
From
now
his
nowadays you
perspective-
got to throw an apology
Can't say
out
anything
there.
without having to take it back, apparently.
That's sour grapes from his perspective because they didn't do anything illegal. They just exploited a loophole that was there. And
Well, there's no
basically, if you're an Alabama booster in the crowd, you hear Nick Saban say that, and he's saying, well, they got the number one recruiting class in the country because they manipulated the rules and they found a loophole in the rule book. And if I'm a booster, I'm going to say, okay, Nick, well, why aren't you manipulating the rules and finding that loophole for us?
Exactly.
right?
My-
How come they got the number
and I
one
think-
recruiting class and we only got the number two? This is Alabama. What are we doing here?
And I think
Roll
Saban's
Tide.
saying
Roll Tide.
I think Saban's saying that as well because they didn't get the number one
Exactly.
class.
He's only trying to cover his tracks because he's
Yeah.
got the boosters in front of him. He's saying whatever he needs to say. But I don't know. I just I see this and I'm like, I see both sides.
Yeah,
You know,
I like
see
it though because it creates that
Oh.
tension against Alabama and Texas A&M now. But
Well, especially because A&M won against Bama last year.
Yeah.
So now
Yep.
there's all this animosity.
What's
all
going to
this
happen
tension.
now?
It's building up now. Yeah, for sure. That rematch is going to be
I
intense.
would have loved to be Texas A&M.
Yeah,
next
Bama
year.
by 30.
Yeah,
Right.
I mean, Georgia, I don't even know who's left to play there.
Right.
You know,
Right.
that's going to be
Like-
what a program that is.
Yeah.
Like there's a
What, they
big
have
game.
12 draft picks this
Yeah,
year?
it was
12
like
draft
First
picks?
two rounds.
First two rounds.
It's crazy.
That's 12 guys. Yeah.
Yeah.
Although, and I did look at a 2023 mock draft the other day. They have 5 guys going in the first round next year. Projected.
What a day of practice that was.
There's that, and then did you see that between Ohio State and Alabama, they got like the top 6 picks
Yeah.
projected?
Yeah.
Crazy. And you see there what huge matchup there's going to be this college football season. I think it's Bama and Texas.
How many?
Oh, I thought it was Ohio State
The
Notre
Ohio
Dame.
State, Notre
Well,
Dame.
there's Ohio State and
That's
Notre
big.
Dame,
That's
but I
a
think
big
That's the
matchup.
matchup.
that's a big matchup. But I mean, Bama and Texas as
Texas,
well,
yeah.
and
That's a big
Texas has Ewers transferred to Texas,
got
where he's from.
Sarkisian.
Now
I don't
I
even know
know
if he's going to play, though.
Now there's that, but I don't know. Just saying a 5-star QB going out
He
in
was-
Texas, and Texas is looking for a QB.
Well, I mean, that was a guy that was highly recruited. He skipped his senior season to go to Ohio State
Yes.
with that name, image, likeness rule and all that stuff.
Got the bag.
Got the bag, $1 million. He was the
Secured the
highest
bag,
paid player in Ohio
Yeah.
that was collegiate
Yep.
last year, and then goes on and says, I'm done. That's good.
Went
I'm going to
where
go to
he really
Texas.
wanted to. Yeah. He
Ended
might
up
not
going
even-
where he wanted to go.
Yeah, and he might not even start. That's the thing.
Oh, he's not. He
Texas
won't.
still has Haynes King,
Yep.
who was the #1 overall player out of Texas when he came out.
Yeah.
And 2 years later, Quinn came out. But the thing about Texas, Alabama is you got Sarkisian, who's the head coach
Yes.
at Texas, who was the OC at Alabama when those offenses were just unreal. And, you know, I think him and Saban are politically okay.
Right.
But I'm
Does-
sure when it gets down to it,
Does
uh,
you see Texas coming back before USC?
yeah. No, USC first.
Oh,
Man,
yeah,
with
for
Riley
sure.
going out to USC,
Yeah, I was gonna say that's something I forgot all about. Was,
Texas is the worst school in the country
O'Reilly
at
coming back to
developing players.
USC.
I mean, Texas didn't even have a player in the draft this year.
Yeah, no.
No.
Not a single dude.
Although the running
That's
back from
unreal
Texas-
to think about because that's the most valuable sports franchise in college football.
For a staple college football team, Texas, and you have 0 in the NFL
I don't know how
draft.
they can't. I don't know how they can't get a good coach there. Like I thought Tom Herman was the guy for a year, and then I don't know what happened with
he
that.
He crapped on his leg. I just
It might as well be McConaughey. I mean, look at him on the sidelines.
All right.
All right.
Either that or bring Vince Young.
I think Sarkisian. That guy's a genius.
They got to flip it, though. Flip the script to keep their name, I feel like.
Yeah, yeah. I mean,
Pressure on
It's
them,
all
and then you
about
got the
recruiting
Red
in
River,
Texas.
Red River Showdown there.
they've got to keep their guys in Texas. That's
They
the
do.
biggest thing.
I agree
They
with
have
you.
to find a way to
That's
keep
the
their
best
guys in
football
Texas
state in the
because
country.
everybody poaches their talent. If Sarkisian can put that wall up around Texas and say these are our players, and you just stick to recruiting inside your state, good lord,
And
that
doesn't-
school could be
that's
dominant
scary.
for
It doesn't even have
so
to be
long.
all of Texas. Just that central Texas, that
Just that
Austin,
area.
that Dallas, Fort Worth area.
Yep.
Just keep that there. And I mean, that's 95% of the recruits out of Texas. And then that's the best football state in the country.
Yeah.
I mean, you can argue California, Florida, and stuff like that, but I mean,
Just
for
look at
Texas,
Texas over the
Plus,
years.
Just think about the
Well,
fact that
they
they've got
always
kids
are.
playing tackle football at 3 years old in
Nuts.
Texas.
Yeah.
I mean,
Nuts.
that there is it's just a frenetic atmosphere when it comes to the fans in Texas and how they just, I mean, obsess about
and
football.
specifically high school football.
Ohio is close. I feel like Ohio's fans are close to Texas fans in the fact that like we eat, sleep, and breathe football all year round. We
Yes.
are ready for football season when it ends. You know,
Yep.
like we don't want it to ever end. And I feel like that's Texas in a nutshell. The only thing Texas has on us, they have a lot of spring ball. They have spring football, and
Yes,
we
they
don't have
do.
that. And it's like I'm jealous. As a youth football coach, I wanted that. You
Yeah.
know, I wanted spring football, and everybody looks at me like I'm nuts. You can't do that to those kids. You're beating up on them kids' bodies, and well, I mean, yes,
Look,
Well, so
Spring
you
ball.
could fit 9 Ohio's in Texas to where
that's true.
you got different
That's
kids.
true.
You got different. You like.
But the crazy
down
thing
where
is,
I-
Texas,
down-
they're playing 6-on-6, 7-on-7 ball
Well,
because
even where I live at in
there's so
Delaware
many
now,
different divisions.
there's kids that they play spring football
Yeah.
and they play fall football, and I was like, well, that's strange. And they're like, well, it's because there's so many damn kids that have to go out for these squads that they have. I asked the one boy if they get to play both, and they said, yeah, you can if you want. But I really feel like with Texas football, like we talked about, they do spring football because also I wouldn't want to play football in the Texas heat in
No.
the summer.
good
You know
Lord.
what I mean?
Yeah.
It's unbearable.
Yeah, and the thing about spring ball too, it's not as long as football season. It's only a month long.
Right.
And typically that first week is a short week and the last week is a short week.
4-game season.
Yeah.
That's it.
And you usually got 2 weeks, even if that. I mean, even in high school, it's similar to college where you don't even play games. It's just practices pretty much. So you pretty much get a 2-week chunk, and you don't even. I mean, they don't even go full pads there. So you might be in just uppers where your shoulder pads and helmet. I mean, it's just really just redialing it in, introducing those freshmen to the system. So like when you get to the spring and or when you get to the summer and fall, you're not installing your playbook.
Yes.
The kids already know it, or you
Yes.
just need a quick refresher for 3 days or something like that, which that may not sound like a lot, but when like this summer when we got to install our playbook, it's not just like we only install it to we got to install it top guy number 1 to 99. Every kid gets a fresh install, but if you're able to do that in the spring, that takes a whole week worth where you're ahead of
It does.
whatever you're playing. I mean, it's a massive advantage having spring ball. And even if you talk about, it might take the kids away from spring sports. Kids, I mean, we have flexible schedules. I mean, we could practice after, and they're not super intense practices either.
You want to make that argument? Well, why can't I make the argument about fall baseball taking kids away from football? Because, I mean, it's the same argument. You want to make,
Yeah.
I mean, there's so many parents that are like, well, you can't do spring because you're taking kids away from baseball. Well, baseball takes kids away from football in fall.
Yeah.
I can't tell you how many times I've had a parent tell me, they're not going to play this year because they're doing fall ball.
Just play,
Really?
especially
Yeah.
when you're young. Like high school, it's difficult because you got games during the week, whereas football, you have games only on one night.
I think oftentimes it's kind of overrated to where we talk about dual sport athletes, tri-sport athletes. In my humble opinion, I love that, in the aspect, if you wrestle and you play football, those things translate to each other. Everything helps each other when you play all sports, but like we talked about, when you're taking kids away from one sport, putting them in another, and in all realities, if you're a 3-sport athlete, there's only so much year you can focus on. When you're in wrestling, well, guess what? If I play defensive line, I'm not going to be a big boy by the time spring rolls around.
Exactly.
I'm going to be more in shape than the guys that I'm going against and running with cardio-wise, but I have a lot to do
You got a mass to put on.
to get back into that shape. So that was, in my opinion, one of the reasons why, you stray away from track or stray away from baseball is, you might want to put your efforts into that upcoming football season because, as you know, it's year-round.
Yeah, football's
year-round
king.
deal.
It's year-round.
Pretty
But-
much.
At the same time, if you love it, then go ahead. You know what I mean? Like, there are kids that play the 3 sports. I loved baseball growing up. I played up to junior high, but there's always, whether anybody wants to say it or not, as far as each sport helping each other, you do got coaches that whisper in your ear.
Oh, yeah.
Coming to open practice.
Oh, yeah.
Always.
Like, well, I'm getting ready for track. Track.
Come hang out in the weight room.
It's like, you see that offensive line coach during the middle of February,
Yeah.
like, hey, what's going on there, pal?
Track, why don't you come to speed camp?
Yeah.
Offensive line coaches out there.
But
You know what I'm
Key
saying?
components of
Yeah.
that.
Well, you need to throw a hammer throw. No, you don't need to do that. Come on. Let's just go. Let's push some sleds around. You're fine.
Right.
but when you talk about, just programs and getting them going and bringing them back to prestige, especially in that Texas situation. I mean, we touched on it earlier with the season opener for Ohio State against Notre Dame. Greggy, I got to ask you, what do we put our faith into if Marcus Freeman comes out there and lays an egg against the Buckeyes?
He will.
Ooh.
Week
I
one?
think so too. I mean, look at all his talk he was talking.
Listen, you guys have to give
We
him
got
a
some
chance.
Buckeye fans back here getting rowdy.
You gotta understand that the guy's got some time under his belt now, and things aren't like they were this last year. And that's not the same Ohio State team that we've seen many, many times. So
Yeah, they're a lot better now.
Here's the thing,
Got the
too,
new
is
DC in there.
Yep.
That's right. That DC is going to be nasty.
we talked
Just
about
wait till I
the
get my Notre
Texas
Dame flag in
situation
here.
with Howard going there. But what about, how many things were up in the air when Urban left and Ryan Day took over? I loved that they were able to just not skip a beat.
Yeah.
Now
It's
that,
kind of like Donaldson took over for
Heidelberg.
Heidelberg for Mike Hallett.
and
It was
it's-
like the exact same situation almost.
Yeah.
But at one point, there's a stretch where now you're starting to, we always talk about that farm to table team. Now you're seeing that Ryan Day.
Yep.
You know, the wheels were already in place to, we talked about go down to Crankshaft, Georgia and start recruiting because that's what Urban did.
Oh, yeah.
You know, they started planting those seeds down south to where, you know, a lot of these guys are going to get those D1 opportunities that they ordinarily, you know, wouldn't
Right.
get. You know, and I'm all about that. You know, I love that. And to see that Ryan Day was able to continue and be successful, I'm hoping the same thing with Marcus Freeman now that Kelly's out of there. I'm glad that his ass is out there embarrassing himself dancing with LSU.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Not
Because
getting those
to me,
commits as well.
I've seen this scenario too many times.
Yeah.
I've seen too many big games with Kelly. You just, nobody believes in it.
Couldn't
Yeah.
do
Nobody
it.
ever did.
Yeah, he was the winningest coach in Notre Dame history, yet could never win the big one. So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Never.
And how the hell, again, it's just, that's whatever the secret ingredient is or the sauce that pushes the machine that's Notre Dame. Like, how the hell can they even stay relevant or be
That's crazy.
in the talk with, especially with ideologies and everything else aside, just the information that's out there, keeping kids to want to choose to go to a Catholic institution, you know,
An academic institution.
and,
too.
and a highly accredited, you know,
Yeah.
you.
It's
you
no
can't be
pushover
so-
academically.
you wouldn't nickel going into Notre Dame.
Yeah.
So the fact that they're able to be in the talk year in and year out, I'm just waiting to see if there's ever going to be that, you know.
Like where they fall off, where they're just really not relevant.
Rudy.
I'm just waiting to see. Here's the thing.
But I
Before
don't.
what happened with Urban Meyer, before he took that Jacksonville job, I swore up and down that his dream job was Notre Dame. And that he was eventually going to take that program over
is he-
and lead them to prominence.
Has he screwed the pooch on that, or is he waiting for it to cool?
I- No.
I think he's going back to Fox.
Here's the thing. Yeah, he'll go back to Fox for a year, but what happens if Marcus Freeman comes out and goes 5-5
Yeah,
this year?
I was gonna say if
what happens if
Freeman,
Marcus Freeman goes 5-6 this year?
if he drops the ball, that's just opening the door right there because Notre Dame doesn't
what I'm
have
saying.
time.
And
They don't
if you're
have time
Notre
to
Dame,
lose.
you give this guy this contract, and it's a cheap contract. It's team friendly, and he's got a buyout in there that's very team friendly. To where you could say after this year, it didn't work out, but how about you come back and be a defensive coordinator, and we'll bring in another head coach, and you just stay with the program.
That's a very, very plausible situation, especially if they don't get the wins right off the bat.
Because that's what happened with Luke Fickell. Look what happened when Tressel left. Luke Fickell took over the program. He went 6-6.
Did the wrong guy get that job?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Most
Did the wrong
likely.
guy get that job?
No.
No.
No, because you got a title to show for it.
Oh damn.
You got the first CFP title.
What a justification.
Because the Buckeyes, what did they win? The first,
Yep, the first the inaugural
BCS
one.
title and the first CFP title. So hey,
2 and 15, right?
that's right.
Yeah.
So hey, we got the first to claim. You guys can have those leftovers. We
mean,
got
Marcus-
the first one though.
Notre Dame ain't had nothing since '88, so we ain't got nothing to talk about here.
Well, hell, Marcus Freeman already, you know, laid an egg or got beat by Oklahoma State in that bowl game to debut. So I was
Well,
like,
you don't really know that though, because I feel like a lot of those players
Well, I mean, yeah,
kind of
he had-
checked out at that point.
Yeah.
Kelly
He had a
came
lot of
into
guys that didn't
practice
play
and
in
was
that
like,
game.
Hey, see
Peace
ya.
out.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's really just
Yeah.
thrown out there.
Yeah.
I mean,
So the jury's out. I don't know. Like I said, I always thought that Urban Meyer was destined for that Notre Dame job. And I thought before that Jacksonville mishap, he was going to take over that job eventually. But when that happened at Jacksonville, I don't know if they're going to end up, I don't even know if he's got a job anywhere in football. Would anybody hire him as a special teams coach, let alone a head
I
coach?
think
Like,
he works with the Ohio State Buckeyes NIL fund.
yeah.
So he works with the group that does all the NIL stuff, which directly works with the coaching, which can work with the coaching staff.
That's
now.
pretty
So,
smart. Yeah, that's pretty smart because that guy knows
one
a
of the
lot
best-
about the business.
as one of the best recruiters of all time in the sport of college football,
Yes.
it's good to have that guy in your corner.
Yes,
Buckeyes fan.
absolutely. For sure. But I will just say he's not exactly taken. He's a free agent. So if he gives himself some chance, a little bit of time to kind of let that settle and let that mellow out, and What did he do? He got grinded on by a young lady at a bar, you know.
Is that how shallow the
He
coach,
kicked the kicker,
the
you
coaching
know, and
pool
you
is
know
right
he
now?
said some things. He didn't know who Aaron Donald was. Who cares? It's pro football. He's out of
Yeah,
his element.
get him back
Let
to
the
where he
guy go
belongs.
back and be a dominant force in college football.
There you
again.
go.
He's the winningest coach in college football history.
Be
You
a
know, like,
dominant coach in,
I don't
in
know
college
if I can
football
see him going
for my
next
team.
game.
that's what he is.
For my team.
Hey, and that's what Saban did. You know, like Saban went back to college football because he knew he wasn't cut out for the pro world.
It's
And
different.
It is totally different.
It's
You don't
crazy.
control
Yeah.
everything. Those guys,
Exactly.
you have grown men
Making
with-
more than you do.
making more than you. They have their own lives, and you don't
They got
control
families to
everything they do.
feed.
And they don't have to show up to voluntary
No.
stuff. Whereas in college, if you don't show up, you best believe there's gonna be a coach knocking on your door, cussing you out, asking you why you weren't there to volunteer.
Show up. Hell, if you don't show up a half hour early, they're going to have
Yeah.
a coach at your door pounding it down. Like,
College-
college is the
Are you committed?
How are those grades looking?
Yeah. And you hear pro guys talk about how much easier the NFL is than college too.
Because they don't
Just
have to
the
worry about
workload
school
on their
or
body.
pressure.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
you work out at your own times, your own. Obviously, during the season and stuff, you're on a regimented schedule. But during the off season, like it's the off season for you. I mean, you
Yep.
get to work out when you want, take care of yourself, take care of your body. Whereas in college, it's you're grinding those years. Especially
Yeah.
as
Go.
you-
It's go time all
especially
the
when you hear about
time.
the stories at Alabama, like there's no sense of reality there. It's only football and class.
Eat, sleep,
Yeah.
and breathe.
And the competition that exists on
Bama-
that team. I mean, it's full of 4 and 5 star recruits.
It is.
Bama's where
For
you
a
step
spot.
out.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's your way to get to the big league.
Yeah.
Be able to, get that fed. You won't see a college football program where the grind out there on the field is more. That's just.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a whole nother level.
It's a whole nother.
That's a professional college football team.
Oh,
as far as I'm concerned.
And like you said, there's no
There-
pro teams in Bama, so
isn't. That's-
all they got is roll tide football.
Exactly. And that's the fan base is just so obsessed. Like they are obsessed with football. I talk about Texas high school football is obsessed. Like the fans of Texas high school football, they're obsessed. You talk about stadiums for high school football in Texas that see
was
50,
just gonna
60,
say.
70,000 people.
It's insane.
It's ridiculous. But Bama,
D2.
I mean, those people all year round are wearing their Bama gear.
Yes.
Roll Tide everywhere they go. Every person they see, it's a religion to them.
Yep.
So
I agree.
I just feel like that's a different beast, you know?
Yeah.
So when it comes to college football, this year there's a lot of really good matchups that I'm looking forward to. But I want to get back into pro football because we talked about Deshaun Watson a little bit. We talked about, that situation. Let's talk about Baker. Well, just a little bit. Let's touch on this. So you got a quarterback here who's sitting on your roster making $19 million guaranteed. That's no matter what, he's going to make that money. Whether it's from the Browns or some other team, he's going to make that money. The Browns are sitting there saying, yeah, we're going to wait this out. We don't see any need to move him right now. Why do we need to move him? We can wait this out and wait till closer to training camp. Maybe there's a quarterback who goes down for a playoff-ready team, and they need a quarterback right now, plug-and-play situation. Put him in there. Maybe he'd be the guy. But as a Browns fan, I've seen this kid for the last 4 years, and everything's got to be right for this kid to succeed.
Yeah.
Like, everything has to be right. Now, I've heard this crazy scenario. The Browns fans think that there's some world that we live in that Baker Mayfield might start for the Browns this year in the games that Deshaun Watson is suspended. That's just, can we just talk about how just ridiculous that would be if that were to go down? I don't see it happening. Do you guys, is there any possibility where you see that happening?
If I'm Baker Mayfield, there's no way I'm putting on a Browns uniform.
None. No chance at all.
I'll take my $19 million.
That guy, do you ever see him?
You
Like
won't
the
get your $19
flag
million
planted guy?
if you don't suit up. So it's either here's this scenario that I proposed when that first happened again was just keep them, like you said, wait for somebody to go down or wait till those options come available or see how everything else in your quarterback room pans out because you may need him or you may need to use that card down the road. But here's the thing is when you got Baker Mayfield who's guaranteed that money if he don't suit up, no ticky, no laundry, you don't put on that suit, you're losing money.
Right.
Every game. So you might be able to relieve yourself. That's why we've made some moves at quarterback where we've, picked up a few in free agency. I think we just cut one today.
Jacoby Brissett honestly could he could
But
win a
yeah,
few
that's
games.
what I'm saying. If
He's got a winning record
If
as
Baker
quarterback.
decides, piss off, I'm sitting it out. Okay, don't sit out. We're not gonna pay you because you're not, you're in violation of your contract.
Right.
Sit out. We'll let Brissett take the reps until Deshaun's able to come back from suspension.
If he's
Save us some money if he's suspended.
Oh, let's talk on that. Here we go. Joey just hit on something there. If he's suspended, you dropped that nugget in there like it was nothing.
Yeah.
Where are you getting this from? You think he's not going to get suspended?
I
So-
say how long?
Yeah, I mean, with the court proceedings, the legal system, the court, it's pushed off to March 2023.
Yes.
Which kind of ties the NFL's hands. Like, do they make a suspension without having the court findings and make themselves the court? Or I think they're going to wait till then and we could see him possibly suspended next year, is my thing.
I think the Browns, in their infinite wisdom, actually did the NFL a favor by getting in front of this thing,
Yeah.
signing the quarterback to where, if as this drags along, again, it's on the Browns organization for signing this guy and allowing him to play and represent the NFL out there on the field because they're the ones that took the gamble. They're the one that paid the money to do it. If he was hanging out just as a Texan still, waiting to come back on the field, you would have seen that hammer come down by the NFL by now. I guarantee it.
Yeah, because I think, you make a good point, Tommy, because the Browns gave up a lot of assets. They paid him a lot of money. They made him the highest paid player in the NFL. And
Fully
the NFL
guaranteed
might sit here and
Yeah,
say,
that's the
we see what you're doing, Browns, and we see what you guys have been through, and we're just going to cut you. We're going to cut you. a
They
break."
ain't got it to break. I just like I said.
I don't see that
I think
happening.
they said thanks for taking a bullet for us.
Yeah.
You think so?
I think so because again, you can drag this out to where once March or whenever all this clears up, then they can make their decision again. Because it wasn't egg on their face for letting this guy back in the league or letting him suit up on the field when he was already sitting in limbo. A team came, took the problem off, took that off of their hands, brought that to Front Street and put it on the field. Not the NFL, because they had him on the shelf already.
Now, what happens if the NFL decides, you know what, we're going to be the jury, we're going to be the executioner in this situation? Before this ever comes out to court, we're just going to come out and say, you're suspended for 6 games this year.
They probably
But then,
But how could you do that without a court?
that's what I'm saying. Then Deshaun goes through all the proper court proceedings, does not settle, goes through every court proceeding and gets everything thrown out. Then what?
Yeah, you
That's
can't.
why I think the NFL is going to wait.
That's why
You can't
I'm
take
kinda,
back a suspension. You can't
Because
unsuspend
they're
him.
kind of at the
Exactly.
point, like the NFL.
They can pay him his money back, but they can't take those. They can't
But
get
it's
those
already
games
guaranteed.
back.
Yeah.
So
That's
I-
his
Yeah.
likelihood or
The
livelihood.
NFL, they don't want to look dumb. Is the thing.
Yeah.
And they don't want to get undermined or anything like that, which is why I think they're going to wait to figure out what the court says.
Yeah, it says they have an agreement in place to pause civil cases on July 1st until after the season. They have 2 more depositions on the June 21st and 23rd, and then apparently after July 1st, they're just putting everything on hold. So
Well, I think tomorrow is going to be a key day for this whole thing because depending on how that interview turns out, depending on how those women look to the public, and depending on how the public reacts to it, because you know how reactionary the NFL is when the public starts to side on one side. The NFL says, all right, we see how everybody feels. We're going to swing the hammer, we're going to swing the gavel, and we're going to bring it down.
We don't want to make everybody else mad.
they
Exactly.
don't want to ruffle any feathers. Ever.
So what happens if these women come on tomorrow and this interview is, it's nothing new, no new bombshells, but these women come out and they are tore up and upset about
Yeah,
this.
I was gonna
And
say-
They're going to put names to faces now.
oh, you
Because everything's been anonymous so far. So I'm curious to see, because this is the first time I'm hearing about it. I'm curious to see if it's going to be a face and a name and a story. Because that makes it real then.
Yeah.
That's when it makes it real. And that could be the overall factor that really pushes it over the top. But the thing is Andrew Berry's not dumb. The Browns owners aren't dumb. The NFL isn't dumb. I'm sure they knew this was going to happen.
yeah.
right.
It's hard for me to believe that the NFL and the Browns had no clue this was happening. Because I'm sure it had
Right.
to have been set up and talked about and probably rumored and realistically probably threatened against them for months. So for now to come out after the huge contract signing, after he's been practicing and stuff like that, I'm sure the Browns and the NFL have known this was going to come out, have pretty much just been keeping it under wraps and kind of just waiting for it, if you will.
Right.
Right.
You have to. You're just regardless. You're gonna have to be prepared for the reactions that are gonna come
Yeah.
out after this tomorrow.
You knew this was
Yeah.
going to happen eventually.
Now they're able to get around that carousel. When we go to when we play Carolina in week 1 for the exciting way, what's that offense look like? Start. Come on, Nate. Go ahead,
man.
just tell me.
We're allowed to do this now? We're allowed to get into this? Or think
Carolina
about
week
this?
1.
Ooh, okay, now.
We've already like I said, I think we did.
So we washed all the dirt off. Now we can actually
washed the dirt
think
off
about.
to where we've decided. Consensus says Watson week 1
Okay, all right. I like this. So, hey,
because there's not
Visualize.
again.
You see him under center.
There's nothing we can do.
Nick Chubb,
Stop.
24 behind
stop.
there. Amari Cooper lined up wide.
All right, I'm getting hard.
Donovan
Sorry.
People Jones the other side.
All right,
All right, I gotta take that camera angle. Nate's getting all worked up in there.
man, I'm so excited about this, guys. I'm not being like I'm trying to contain my excitement because like I don't want to come across as like this fan that doesn't care about
Healthy
the
offensive
situation.
line.
You know what I mean? Like I don't want to come across as insensitive to everything that's going on.
But we are talking about a situation in which he is found completely innocent.
But I'm a fucking sports fan, damn it!
That's what I'm
Like,
saying.
I am a
I'm
sports
saying,
fan. I've
you're-
loved sports my entire life.
Your excitement that we're talking about now is
And
in a
you
world
shouldn't-
where he hasn't done anything wrong.
You
So
shouldn't
you're-
have to
you're allowed
quote
to
your
be.
excitement, especially like we talked about when we can't even get an answer till after the fact. So what the hell does it
Yeah.
matter?
And realistically, we're all just talking
So
out of our
again-
ass, honestly.
That's exactly
We're all
right.
just talking out of our ass.
It's all conjecture. We're just guessing. We're talking as sports fans. We're allowed to do
We're like
this.
fake lawyers. in here.
That's all right. That's all right. Hey, we're allowed to do this. It's the
Yeah.
court of public opinion, right?
And that's the bottom line.
Check down the little hunt.
Well, check down a little hunt. Oh, Njoku out there in the seam.
Oh, what?
You love those hunt
Amari
checkdowns.
Cooper.
I got flushed out of the pocket. I don't have to worry about a batted ball. And I
Oh, and
can
here's
just
Schwartz on an
Oh, and
end
he runs
around.
for 17 yards
Wait.
for a first down.
Our quarterback can run?
Oh, wait, a quarterback for a 20-yard scamper?
Yeah.
3rd and 2, and we can still decide to do an option on it.
Yeah.
Option? Wait a second. What? Talk about the Browns?
Miles Garrett,
Delicious.
Jadeveon Clowney, Perry on Winfrey.
Oh,
Have
that
himself
guy's
a delicious.
Yeah.
He's like, Miles Garrett taking the shit. I'm taking the shit. That's my dog. That's my dog there.
Yeah, he might, after watching his little press conference.
Oh,
after
that's
I
so
drafted,
hype.
He might be one of my favorite players on the Browns. Now, I will have
I
to
haven't
give
even seen him
that
play
to
it down, and I'm like,
seen
yep,
it?
I want his jersey.
And then there too, at first, like public affairs,
Yes.
Doberman pinchers on it, and it's like,
Yes.
He's just pacing around his apartment, just dripping sweat.
he's a dog. He's a dog.
Dog.
He's just like us, guys.
I'm ready to kill right now. I'm ready to kill whoever wants to kill. Whoever wants killed, I'm going to kill him right now.
He's one of us, just pacing around his apartment, dripping sweat.
That's right.
And it was awesome.
Pretty much like me, Greg. Walking around my apartment, dripping sweat, yelling at my phone. Like,
I'm gonna do it.
What about that Brown secondary?
Got some
They got rid of
there's some
Troy
nice
Hill.
pieces
They took
there.
tasty
that Troy Hill
pieces.
back to the
Yeah.
Rams.
well, and then being able to re-sign Denzel for that big contract.
Denzel
He's locked
Ward.
up. You got Greg Newsome on the other side. You got Greedy. Now you drafted this Martin Emerson kid, and you got some of these other kids that are behind him.
Who's
AJ Green was
who's
another
the
big
calls
body.
on
That,
getting penalties on Rich?
what you talking about? Oh, you talking about Harrison, Ronnie
Ronnie
Harrison?
Harrison.
Got to punch a coach. He punch a coach.
Come on, Ronnie.
Hey man, that coach pushed him. Honestly, that coach should
Yeah,
have been
that
suspended
was
just
a
like
joke.
he got ejected from the game, man.
That was a
But
joke.
anyways, yeah, they re-signed him. They got John Johnson. They got
Grant
I mean,
Delpit's back for his second
Grant
full season.
Delpit. He looked good last year in limited duty, and you got a lot of pieces. You got a lot of parts.
So got Jack.
This is a team that
Don't forget Jock.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And, you know,
Man.
Who may have been the
Gee.
steal of the draft
Walker-
last year.
Oh yeah.
Walker's kind of getting up there in age, but I still like what he brings out there on the field.
Yeah, well, he's a leader. That's what you
Yep.
need. You need leaders on the field, and that's what Anthony Walker is. He's a great guy.
Yep.
There's a lot of pieces on this team that make me excited for this year.
Yeah.
And they're deep. That's the thing. Like, that's the thing that really excites me. As a Browns fan, I've been through years where it's like, oh, look at all these starters we have. We have these 10 good starters. It could be a good year, possibly.
they're real starters.
You got 11 starters on both sides of the
Yeah.
ball who are 1 through 11. That's a solid.
Starters all
On both
together
sides
on
of the
both
ball.
sides of the ball. Yeah, you
Yeah.
can
Browns
usually
at
name a couple
Carolina.
names, and that's it.
Yeah.
Is that a dub?
Let's go. Are we playing the schedule game? All right. Browns, Carolina. Dub.
Yeah.
New York Jets at Cleveland Browns.
Dub.
Oh, that's a
Thursday night football game.
Dub.
Pittsburgh Steelers at Cleveland.
Dub.
Who starts for Pittsburgh?
Doesn't matter. Browns.
It doesn't matter who starts for
Browns with
Pittsburgh.
Who starts for? It doesn't matter who starts for Pittsburgh.
Browns
Rudolph.
with the points. Browns gonna be favored. Browns with the points.
And Browns at Atlanta.
Dub.
Kenny, my strong hand Pickett. Take my strong hand.
This is where it gets hairy. After
Cleveland
Atlanta is
at
where it
Atlanta.
gets.
Chargers.
Atlanta. Dub.
Yeah. This
LA Chargers at Browns.
That's gonna be a tough game.
toss-up.
The trap game that completely shit on our 2021 season. New England at Cleveland.
This time it's home. It's in Cleveland now, not in Foxborough on a rainy day where they can just
Ugh.
Oh,
Or they can just
yeah.
do what they did to us.
Just,
I want to throw up just thinking
There's
about
words
it.
for
Are you
that.
saying dub at that one or not?
that's a toss up.
I'm gonna say toss up there, so we'll go L. Okay,
Tie.
So where we at?
No
5-1,
ties.
4-2.
I think.
Did we say Chargers dub or?
I think that's
L?
a toss.
That's a toss up too.
Justin
So
do you
Herbert's
think?
scary. Justin
I
Herbert is
don't know.
so we've
I'm
had
gonna-
two toss
that's
ups.
gonna
So
be
one of
there.
them's got to go one way. One of them's got to go the other way.
Chargers.
five-
Chargers
five
is
and
an
There's
one.
L.
five of us.
Chargers is an L.
Chargers L.
Yeah,
Patriots dub.
I mean the Chargers. Dude, they have Joey Bosa, Khalil
Dude,
Mack,
they're nasty.
Bobby Wagner,
They're nasty.
Derwin James. That team is,
Herbert.
Justin Herbert.
We're gonna have to go
Keenan
through
Allen.
them though to get through the AFC too.
And look at the AFC West this year.
I like it better in the playoffs, not as a October regular season game.
Right.
All right. So then we're talking Cleveland at Baltimore.
It's
Oh man.
At
At
Baltimore.
Baltimore's
I think
always
all
tough.
these AFC North games, besides Pittsburgh,
Don't
I just
forget-
don't think Pittsburgh's with their quarterback. I think it's gonna be a figuring out year for them. The other 6 AFC North games are all toss-ups.
I think the Ravens.
They're very one-dimensional.
I think
Split with the Ravens.
Yeah, go.
I think
give
the
it to the
Ravens
home.
Split in it?
completed this year.
I think we'll
You do?
split with them.
Yeah, I'm going.
I think they were depleted last year, Tommy. They were the most injured team in football.
The
last
Ravens,
year.
yeah.
They had
It's still-
multiple starters go down in training camp before the season even started.
Yeah.
Talk about Marlon Hubbins, some of those guys that went down at the beginning of training camp. Those are guys that are going to be coming back this year. They'll be coming back from injuries, but they'll be coming back. So,
And that'll
Their-
help
their
Lamar
draft
as well.
was On
Yeah, they had a
dude,
really
they
good.
always have a good draft. Always. Ozzy is he's still in that damn building.
He's the
gotta-
man.
He's got to come back to Cleveland.
The
That's the problem.
foundations of the
I'm just-
Ravens.
Trader.
Built by the Browns.
He is. Well, he left with them, so it's not like he's a traitor.
is a
He
traitor.
literally just left with the team that
He
gave him an
He took
opportunity.
Bill's
He's-
draft board.
Hey.
He
He
did.
got our Super Bowl.
He did. He took his
got-
notebook.
He's got kids to feed, man. Come on, get off his back.
Trade
Like
code.
the water boy. He took his note.
He did. He took his book.
Didn't get the job.
I'm gonna need that notebook. Now I'm gonna need you to hand over that notebook, Tommy.
He took my notebook from me.
Oh no!
No, not
So-
the Odell.
After we visit,
Took my team from me.
Took my team from me.
after we visit the Ravens, then we get to host the Jungle Kitties on Monday night
Ooh.
that's a scary.
Burrow.
on
Prime time.
Halloween.
That's a dub.
I
Burrow
say
hasn't
home
beat the
games we
Browns.
got.
Burrow don't beat the
Burrow
orange
hasn't
teams.
beat Baker.
Well, Burrow don't.
Here, come on.
Cleveland at Miami.
Dub.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
that's a dub.
Cleveland at Bills.
Bills.
That's a close one. Though.
Now,
I hate
It
to say
would be
that
great
one.
to see that as a pretty tight game, though. But
Bills.
look at the Bills, though. At Buffalo,
at Buffalo?
at Buffalo is
That
gonna.
might be
Buffalo, I feel like
The
this
thing is,
year.
Allen-
This year, I feel
Allen
like
too
Buffalo's atmosphere is
What's-
gonna be unreal.
What's the date on that game?
It's gonna be
November
Flaming
20th.
Bagels.
No, that's
Late
an L.
November
That's
game.
An L.
Late November.
Oh, cold.
That's when Josh
At-
Allen
That's
started
gonna be
off.
snow
That's when
in
Josh-
Buffalo.
That's when Josh Allen started
And
going
look,
like this.
Buffalo has Von Miller too.
Then,
That adds to their defense.
then the tickets are on Nate for this one. Tampa Bay at Cleveland.
What's Brady gonna do in the cold?
We don't need no tickets. We get media passes.
He's
Yeah, we
gonna
just gotta
win.
get our media passes in. Gotta make sure we get those in.
School in Woodfork.
I think credentials are due by the end of this month.
I'll
so
take pictures of my shoes if I have to. Whatever it takes to get in there.
get some Browns media passes. That'd be pretty sweet.
Do it.
So
Do
the
it.
skeleton crew for the Buccaneers that are still hanging around.
Skeleton crew.
7-time world champion.
They waited till
Grandpa Tom?
They waited till Tom decided to come back to whether they wanted to stick around or
Try
not.
to hold it together.
But is that a dub,
No.
or is Tom coming
No?
and
Yeah, I don't think so.
placing Tom?
Well, doesn't Tom usually have a game or two? And
Come on.
Not in late November.
Why are you so sure that that's a loss for?
I just got a feeling.
Ugh.
I don't know.
Because they're not
I'm
gonna-
going by the schedule. I'm
they're
just,
not gonna let
just listing
Clowney
off
or
what I
Garrett
feel.
touch
This is just
Brady.
gut feeling. We're going down the schedule. I'm just telling you
Especially-
exactly what my gut feels.
Yeah, especially late in the season, they ain't gonna let Garrett get hands on Tom. Especially
Tom
with
Brady
his-
gets hit. He gets shook.
especially with Tom Brady's shadow in the dog pound.
Tommy knows about that. Tommy knows all about Tom Brady getting shook, don't you, Tommy?
Yeah.
Then he get shook against the Browns when Eric Mangini was there.
Yeah, every time me and Tommy
Hey,
play
man,
Madden
got-
against each other.
Peyton Manning got shook the year that he took the Broncos to the Super Bowl
Oh,
over there. Took it
yeah,
to overtime.
That was good stuff. We were in the dog pound for that one.
Interception.
Watched some guy walk into the dog pound with an Elway jersey on, and everybody just asshole, asshole. And then the guy ended up being really cool and sharing his whiskey with us.
Classic Cleveland.
I'm sorry, West Virginia water. That's what it was. West Virginia water. He turned around and he asked Tommy, he's like, hey, you want some water? Tommy's like, I don't want no damn water. And he's like, no, you want some of this water. This is West Virginia water.
West Virginia.
Oh, okay. Some of that Everclear, you know.
Yeah.
Man.
Let's keep going down.
You
What
guys
we got?
already got us
Tampa?
at like 4 or 5 losses.
It's all right. We still get
Browns at Houston.
Win.
Browns at Cincy.
Win. We're
Ravens.
sweeping the Bengals again. Sorry.
Ravens at Cleveland.
Win.
Saints at Cleveland.
Win.
No quarterback.
Browns at Washington.
Win.
Commanders.
There's 5 in a row.
Browns at Pittsburgh.
6 in a row.
With a to be determined date or to be determined time.
Yep.
That's 6 in a
Same
row.
thing with Baltimore. The last
So they're going to
Baltimore
close
game.
out on a 6-game winning streak.
Damn right. You're going into the playoffs with a 6-game winning streak. Holy shit.
Is that good or is that scary?
That's
Because
scary.
my contorted brain says we just won 6 in a row. We're due for a letdown.
No, my contorted brain says this team caught fire at just the right time at the end of the season when they need to catch fire.
So the lumps.
If you take those lumps early,
Kind of figure out your team.
catch your fire. After
Yeah,
the bye week
I
is when
think-
they're going to catch
I
fire.
think
Bye week's what,
you,
week 9?
You build that confidence. You don't give up on the season because I honestly think, again, you start off on fire. You pick up win against Carolina. You pound out against the Jets. Beat Pittsburgh. Beat Atlanta. You're starting off
4-0.
4-0. You take that trap game against the Chargers early on. Like,
It's in Cleveland this year too, which is good.
I wouldn't call that a trap game, though, because they're a good team. You're not going to expect to lose
it's at
that.
home
Yeah.
against a team that I know we can beat up on.
I don't know about that, though. You can score points,
They
but
always have a good game with the Chargers.
they got a better defense this
Remember
year.
the 1-1
Oh, I was there for 1 out of 131. I was there.
It's always the
one game.
Just like
Christmas Day. It
just
was like
the Indians. and
Christmas
Guard-
miracle.
that's exactly what it was.
It's just like the Guardians and the Indians against like the Royals. For some reason, it's always the Chargers and the Browns. That's that one exception to the rule where I'm like, okay.
Well, I remember Hurricane Sandy game. Going there for the Hurricane Sandy game, Trenton Richardson had like 60 yards, and they had like 3 field goals that won the game, 9-6 in that game. So I was there for the game, And literally, we went to our seats that were at the top, up in the nosebleeds. We got to them. We saw them. We were like, nah, I'm not even sitting here. So we just walked around the stadium and found different places to watch the game, the whole game. Because it was just like, it was miserable. Like if we would have sat in our seats, we'd have been miserable. But yeah, you're right, Tommy. It's like weird because every time the Browns play the Chargers at home, think about that. Chargers got to travel 2,000, 3,000 miles to come to Cleveland to play that game. They're traveling from the West Coast, so you're dealing with all that jet lag all the time, and it's always a 1 o'clock game. It just throws them off.
It's just, I really felt
This year, the Browns went to LA. They got thrown off. They had all their stuff thrown off. And they still competed in that game. It was a hell of a game, one of the best games of the year.
I think really like we talked about that patch where you play the Chargers, you play the Pats, you play the Ravens in Baltimore, you play the Super Bowl, contending Bengals. There's a lot of games there that
It's a tough stretch.
That is a little tough stretch.
That week 5 through 8.
And that's what
tough.
And that's what sets the tempo. You got to win those.
You
You
gotta
got to
win
win
those.
at least two
You
or
got
three.
to go
there.
3-1 in the first 4 weeks. Got to go 3-1 in the first 4 weeks, and then in that 4-game stretch, you got to go at least 2-2.
Gotta get past week 1.
Yeah.
Gotta
Oh,
get
don't
past
be
week
giving
1.
that cliche coach
Sam
bullshit.
Darnold ain't gonna do.
one
He's not
game
gonna
at
do
a time.
shit. He's
Yeah.
gonna Miles Garrett and smash him. Jadeveon Clowney.
Where's that game in Carolina or in
Yeah.
Cleveland?
Yeah, Carolina.
It's in Carolina to start the
Home
year.
openers against the Jets.
6-game?
Deshaun against Baker. What do you think?
6-game one?
It could happen.
Baker isn't going to be in Seattle.
You think he's going to be in Seattle?
My very reliable sources tell me. Remember.
Who's that? Mary Kay Flabbit?
Mary Kay Flappet. Flapping those gums.
Look at these divisions though. Like
Oh,
look at obviously
So
the
much
North
talent right
and then look at the AFC West. I mean,
now.
especially
They're
the
gonna beat shit out of
Broncos.
each other. All
The
those
AFC
teams are
West-
just make the playoffs out of that division at like 9-8, and then all the other teams in that division missed the playoffs because they beat the shit out of each other.
That's what's gonna happen.
But that team also could win the Super Bowl.
Exactly.
It's
That's one of those teams
just
that-
how Russell will be with the Broncos.
I don't really care. Honestly, I hate the Broncos. They're like my least favorite team.
Way to just shit on the Broncos when we're outside.
Outside of
like-
the division, they're my least
we
favorite
shit
team.
on Russell.
I guess
Russell
the
Wilson,
biggest
a little bit.
Westbrook, whatever.
Yeah.
I guess the biggest thing is he gonna bring them back on the map like how
Are they gonna be a Super Bowl?
like how Peyton Manning did.
There's only one sheriff.
Yeah, I don't
I'm
know.
not saying he's gonna duplicate Manning,
Well,
but is he gonna bring it
let's
back
get
up
real.
to him?
The defense carried Peyton Manning's limping
Yeah, that
body to
defense
the
was
Super
unreal.
Bowl.
The year they won the Super Bowl,
Yeah.
yeah. The year before that, Peyton was
Omaha.
50 some touchdowns.
Yeah.
Omaha.
Yeah, definitely Omaha.
Omaha. Yeah.
Omaha.
But yeah, the year that they won it, for sure, he was carried. They carried his carcass all the way to the Super Bowl for sure.
Crazy.
Well, I don't know if you know, but I'm the lone Broncos fan in here, so
Oh, all right.
yeah.
Well, sorry, I didn't mean
rip
to
on
offend
me.
you. No, I'm not ripping on
Well,
you.
I'll rip on you guys.
As a Browns fan, I was born in 83. So my first memory of the Browns is 89 when they lost to the Broncos in the AFC Championship game. Now that wasn't the drive or the fumble, but it was still, that was one that I remember to this day. And I hated John Elway after that game. Hated it. I still hate that horse face ass.
Dude, for real.
I buried that. I
I
grudge.
respect him.
I buried that grudge when I realized, look, no matter what you did, you're gonna get your ass handed to you by Montana.
Yeah.
So I
True.
mean, you were damned, you were damned if you did, damned if you don't. Because
great
what happened
point.
after the drive? What happened to old horse face?
Would have been nice to be there though.
That's exactly right. We're still one of the 5 teams in the NFL that have yet to make it to a Super Bowl, let alone win one.
4 teams now. It was 5 before the Bengals.
I mean, you see what? You see
Let
what?
a North team rub it in your
You
face.
see what
The Bengals
Cincinnati?
won,
No.
Bengals went in the 80s.
Bengals been to the Super Bowl.
Bengals was
before.
like the first Super Bowl I remember.
I thought they were one of the teams that weren't in it.
No,
Bengals
they
against
went,
the
they went to the Super
Niners.
Bowl
Just one
against
that's
the Niners.
been there and haven't won
Yeah,
it.
they've had.
That was the who John Taylor game where he had that big game against.
What was that,
them.
91 or something?
Yeah, 89.
89 and 91. I always get those two confused
See, I was
for some
born in
reason.
'98, so it doesn't count.
Yeah.
You're born during.
Oh, man.
I gotta get out of here. I gotta.
Yeah,
go.
you got to work. Hey, man, appreciate your time.
Thank you.
He says,
Thank you,
he
guys.
said, I got to get out of here. There's a Broncos.
And so I got to get out of here.
See you later, Joey.
See you guys.
Thanks for joining us,
Yeah,
Joey.
you
Appreciate your
guys have a
time.
good one.
Yep.
Absolutely. So, I mean, it's getting close to 10 o'clock here. We can kind of start wrapping things up, but, I mean, any other things you guys want to talk about before we close down shop here? I mean, we talked about the Browns. We talked about the Guardians a little bit. We talked about Buckeyes football. We talked about, and we even talked about the Broncos and the Reds, Connor. I mean, we talked about
Right.
your teams a little bit. I mean, is there any other things that we've missed? I mean, obviously, don't forget, folks, watch playoff baseball here on Heart of Ohio Sports. 2 games tomorrow, Tuesday, May 24th, as Tiffin Calvert and Hopewell at 2 o'clock, I'm sorry. And then Old Fort St. Paul at 4:30. Then tune in on Thursday for Tiffin Columbian in Ontario at 4:30. But other than that, any other things you guys want to talk about? Greg, you've been busy over there running the board, but you did a great job. Really appreciate you taking over that producer role for us.
No problem, man. This is just a little random thing, but I'd like to shout this out because my mom actually watches a lot of our videos and stuff, and tomorrow's her birthday, so I want to say happy birthday to her. For when she
Happy
watches
birthday, Tim.
Happy birthday.
That's awesome. What is she, 39, 40
this.
now?
Somewhere close to that.
That's what I thought.
I guess some key things going into tomorrow in Clyde.
Yeah, you got an exciting business venture going on, man. You're posting a lot of cool stuff about your business, and I'm really excited to see you develop like the brand that you're creating for yourself.
Yeah,
That's pretty
it's been pretty
Man,
exciting so
Smart
far.
guy is wearing his gimmick on.
That's right. Hey, man, you got to get those appearances when you can. That's
Right?
smart.
But Hopewell, and I've experienced it firsthand. I mean, they just have a difficult time getting out of Clyde, and especially winning the district semifinals in Clyde. And you also got St. Paul playing Old Fort, and St. Paul throughout the years have been really tough. So St. Paul beating Old Fort tomorrow and Hopewell getting game 3 over Calvert. You got a really tough battle between Hopewell and St. Paul. And them two teams faced early in the season this year, and Hopewell has the game over St. Paul. And after that game, St. Paul is really that lit fire back into them,
Yep.
and I can see that as a really good district final game.
I did hear St. Paul had a couple of kind of head-scratching losses earlier in the year. I was talking with a
After
friend of
districts,
mine
is it regional
Yes.
earlier.
and then state?
So they got swept by Mohawk in a doubleheader, and they lost to Port Clinton earlier in the year. So they're beatable.
Yes.
I'd say this St. Paul team is definitely a team that Old Fort should have confidence going into that
Yes.
matchup.
Yep.
For sure.
I'm not saying it's a blowout game or anything. It'll be a close game, but I mean,
You got
you
St.
got Old
Paul?
Fort that just passed sectionals for the first time in who knows how long, and then you got experienced St. Paul team that
mean-
wins consistent playoff games.
It's like the Kentucky Derby this past year. You know, you got your long shots, you got your teams that are more than capable to do it. It's just whether or not you resort to old tactics. If you catch fire and you it's like we always talk about. You win with performance, you lose with potential.
That's right.
And all these teams are potentially, district champions.
Yeah.
To where they can make that run to regional. And I wholeheartedly believe it with the Hopewell squad, even the Lakota squad, even I really think Columbian stands a real good chance. But when you go through that meat grinder, especially in like Division 4 or whatnot, you can't have those mental miscues. You can't have those days. Like that's where you really see the cream of the crop start to rise. I really do think that these squads have that talent to be able to do
sure.
that. But you can't have enough against
No.
a Norwalk, St. Paul, or like just one of the other just as good squads. That
Yep.
makes sense because
No,
there
it
are
does.
bigger squads that
Absolutely.
are just like, man, they're just dogs. You got your ace pitching, you got guys that are in heavy bats, but at the same time, like we talked about, a lot of teams in this area are beatable with the squads that these guys are putting out there on the fields.
Yeah. And I think this is one of the most exciting playoff baseball atmospheres we've had in this area in a long time. You've got a lot of local teams that are in the mix
Yeah.
deep into the playoffs. A lot of these teams, I mean, you got 6 local teams that have made it past the sectionals. So we're into districts now, and these teams are making a noise, and I'm excited. I'm excited to be involved in this because this is our first year covering baseball, and we got all these exciting teams to cover.
Right? I mean, what's the run the Tornadoes are going to make this year? They're going to go back to where they were last year.
They could.
And then you also, I'm going to go back to it, but you got Calvert hungry for a win over rival Hopewell.
For
and they've lost 2 games. And that second game when we broadcasted it, that was
extra innings.
That was extra
3-3
inning,
tie.
walk-off
04
win.
came back to tie it up and then almost took the win, but
Yep.
couldn't quite get it.
So you're going to look at there, and then also with Old Fort winning their sectional, look at that confidence like, hey, look, we finally made it past it. Now, what are they going to be like? How are they going to pound Norwalk?
Yeah, exactly.
And see.
So we'll see how this works out. A couple of key matchups tomorrow and a big matchup on Thursday, once again, here on Heart of Ohio Sports. Thanks for tuning in here on the Pulse Podcast. We just now getting settled into our new spot. The studio space, like you see it, folks, will be evolving and changing with every episode. So every time you see this episode, you're going to notice new stuff as far as decorations, new stuff as far as us hiding cables and finding ways to make things look better. And right now it looks kind of just put together because that's what it is. We just put it together so we could do a show tonight. And we wanted to make sure it was in the studio. And honestly,
We're just really
this feels
excited
awesome.
to get in here.
It does.
This feels so awesome. We are
feels
in
right.
our own studio right now.
It feels right.
It does. It feels like it's supposed to feel. We did it. We did it, Greggy. Like Tommy, dude, we did
It
this.
feels awesome. It feels so awesome. I can't even express, man.
So once again, folks, if you're watching this, you're going to watch it evolve. You're going to watch this take shape over the course of the next couple of year lease for this property. So we are going to be here for the long term. And I see us being here even longer than that because I see the potential with this place.
And 2 years goes fast.
It really does. Absolutely.
does.
And in those 2 years, we want to grow this brand to where our reach extends outside of the Tiffin area. So that's our goal. That's our vision.
It's interesting that, again, with your footprint and thumbprint in the area, if you did the math, if you started high school as a freshman and played sports all the way up until you graduated college of this year, there's a good chance Nate Mullins has called your name on the radio.
That's right.
It's crazy.
Absolutely.
Or myself, even.
Joey's 23 years old, and we called his games when he was in high school.
Oh, yeah.
We called him. He played with Austin Jones when we covered them in Hicksville. He was on that team. We didn't even think about it, but he was talking about it sitting here today off the air, and I'm like, holy shit, we were there. I remember that game. That was a rowdy game. 2 overtimes. Austin Jones running all over that. I think he had like 300 yards and 250 in that yard. I mean, it was just crazy. But yeah, you're right, Tommy. If you are of a certain age, there's a good chance that we've called your game before, probably. So, folks, if you see this space and you see potential, and you say to yourself, these guys are Browns fans. I got some cool Browns stuff that I want to donate. Or these guys are Guardians fans. I got some cool Guardians stuff that would look really cool on the wall behind Nate right here. Or, hey, I got a really cool flag that would take the place of this thing.
I'm a big collector of dollar bills from the years 2000.
Hey, we take dollar bills too. That always adds to the decorations.
I will put out an NFT or something.
Oh my God.
I'll give you some kind of money.
Tommy Beeple Cash.
Now, Tommy, you like your dollar bills, and how many dollar bills does it cost to go on this ride of yours this weekend?
Let's talk about this ride real quick. Let's
that's
brush
true.
on that.
The Rowdy Friends ride. Again, all my rowdy friends have routed on down. We're going to find that out this Saturday. Route 30 Harley-Davidson over in Upper Sandusky. Going to be kicking off Bike Week up in Sandusky. And that's always a big deal for the biker community here in Ohio. So we're going to be taking a ride up to Sandusky, the back way from Route 30.
Well, you know what? Before you go on this ride, hit up Connor. See if you can get in for a detail.
Oh, he's already supposed to have
Connor's
me.
like, don't put me on a spot. My detail spots are full this week.
Hold on a minute now.
I ain't got no time for details.
He was supposed to have this entire week cleared for me and my bike. That's what we talked about,
You
Connor.
cannot, if you put the name out that you're a detailer, you'll be more busier than a fruit merchant.
Roush Detailing, LLC,
Roush
once
Detailing.
again.
Right here in town.
567-804-9006. There you go, folks. Roush Detailing. Free advertising, Connor.
I appreciate it. Nate.
And I tell you what, from
Stop
what I've
out.
seen, man, impressive
Oh,
work.
dude, this kid does incredible work.
Thank
That's
you.
what's nice about getting that stuff done early is, again, the ride's going to be later on in the afternoon, 4:30 p.m. kickstands up. So you got all of Saturday to get your bike shining, get it nice and ready for as
Got to show it off.
right.
again, it's about time that
Right.
we finally get some nice weather on the
Yes.
horizon. We all get to start enjoying our summer, whet your appetite schedule, and again, it's going to be a nice summer to finally get back in the swing of things, getting some normalcy, on the damn bike, ride over and have Connor detail that up with a fine-tooth comb and
That's right.
Yes, sir. And
ride off into the sunset.
remember, look twice, save a life.
That's right.
That's
and
true.
loud pipes. Loud pipes save lives. So, guys, any final thoughts? I think we're pretty much done here. This has been a great podcast. Great episode.
Great kickoff.
one. Yeah. I mean, it's not technically episode 1 of The Pulse because we did this a long time ago, but
bring
we'll
it
just say it is. We'll just say
The season
rebranding.
premiere.
Revamp.
Season premiere of the Pulse podcast
Yes.
here on Heart of Ohio Sports. Thanks for tuning in with us, folks. Once again, Tommy Hall, Connor Roush, Greg Kinn, thank you once again for manning the board and pushing all the buttons back there, keeping us looking great. And thanks again to Joey Krajewski for joining us here on the Pulse podcast. You've been tuned in right here on Heart of Ohio Sports. I'm Nate Mullins, thanking you once again. And make sure you tune in for high school baseball this week right here on the Pulse of the Buckeye State. Have a great day, everybody. Thanks.
Bum, bum.